Welcome to the Lancashire Lad podcast. Welcome to the Lancashire Lad podcast. This is the first episode of my weekly football show, and I'm joined by three fantastic guests this week. We have Alex Taylor, former announcer, stadium announcer at Burnley Football Club. We have Craig Stanley, a former Morecambe Football Club, Lancaster City, and when I looked, about another 12 clubs.
Yeah. We'll leave that. We'll leave that, Stu. Yeah.
And of course, we also have Tony Lewis, a big Man United fan and one of the best tributes to Robbie Williams. So, good evening, chaps. How are we?
Yeah, not too bad. Yourself?
Very good. Yeah,
I'm good. Just thumbs up will do, yeah.
Everybody's just scared of talking, aren't they? So
Yeah.
You want to talk over anyone? That's the thing.
Yeah, after I just said it. No problem. So we won't beat around the bush. This week we've all gathered to talk about one of the timeless discussions that has knocked on now for many a year. And that discussion is, who is better, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, or Paul Scholes? By the end of this, we'll have various points put forward and we'll see what the lads say. And if you disagree with us, feel free to comment underneath. Tell us we know nothing if you want. If you like to agree, you can do the same. Don't get abusive. Just be nice. So we're going to start off with Alex Taylor. And Alex, I want you to put forward your top three. Who's first? Who's third? Who's second? And who's first? And tell me why.
Well, to say you only let me know about half an hour ago, so I've just kind of had to think off the top of my head. But I think they're all great players, but I class them all as having different qualities. So, for example, I class Scholes as a more attacking than the likes of Gerrard or Lampard. So, my list would be.
Would you say it's better more than Lampard attacking?
Well, I think I see more. See, funny faces by Tony. But I
get back to telesales, Al.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Football's a game of opinions. Remember that. So
yeah, my list would be.
Yeah.
Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes, Frank Lampard.
What, Lampard the best?
No,
right. Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard. Yeah. Okay. What do you think, Tony?
Well, I kind of concur with yourself that I think that Lampard's probably the most attacking out of the three. I think that in every great side he had, whether it be Makelele, players like that, he had people to do a lot of defensive work for him. I'm sure Craig, as a player at top level, appreciate that, you know, playing in partnerships, whether it be centre mids or centre halves, you've got to complement each other. Obviously, for me, I've got to go off experience. Paul Scholes has given me some of the best nights of my life, and I've watched him play football.
Why do you put that right?
Attribute-wise, like Alex said, I think you've got to have a lot of respect for all three players. Three different players as well. I mean, the rivalry between United and Liverpool is probably not as great as, between Liverpool and Chelsea or Liverpool. I'll get this out. The rivalry between Chelsea and United and Chelsea and Liverpool is not as great as United and Liverpool. That's what I wanted to say. And so over the years, you kind of love to hate people like Steven Gerrard, but similar to Brian Robson in the 80s for Man United, he's dragged that a mediocre side through them, through some shit times, you know what I mean? And really grabbed them by the scruff of the neck, and you've got nothing but respect for players like that looking back. But for me, it would be third, Lamps, second, Gerrard, and number one, Paul Scholes, on the simple fact that he's won as many trophies on his own as the other two put together.
I knew you'd throw something in like that. Over to Craig. What do you think? A brief analysis and your order, please.
Yeah, very, like I said, three top players. Three, I think, different type of midfielders, as we spoke about. I think Lampard's a bit more attacking than the other two players. I think Lampard as a midfielder, and I used to obviously try to play midfield myself, and I think Lampard, as previously said, had a lot of players at the clubs he's had. He's had players who can do the defensive side, and I think out of the three, him scoring goals, I think he's the best midfielder out of the three. But as a general, being a midfielder, as playing myself, I think Lampard's passing, dictating the game from like Gerrard did numerous times for Liverpool when games look like they're being defeated. Gerrard scored a goal or done something. Lampard, I think, more or less I'm not just saying but he used to just know how to score. He used to just arrive. His timing from midfield was unbelievable. And I think when you look at his record, I've been a bit of a geek here and got some stats. I think in the 647 games, this is Wikipedia, so I hope this is right. 647 games, he scored 193 goals. Scholes, 466 games, 102 goals. And Gerrard, 538 games, 125 goals. So there's 70-odd games. Yes, he's played more games than everyone, but there's 70-odd more goals. And I think when you look over the three, I think he was the better goal-scoring midfielder. But overall, as a midfielder, I wouldn't say he was on the same level as Gerrard and Scholes. So, but the other two, Gerrard, like you said, in a Liverpool team who nowhere near as good as probably the last couple of seasons. I wouldn't say this year because obviously Liverpool have had a difficult season this year, but I think the last couple of years they've been unbelievable. But could you imagine Gerrard in that team? That would have been a scary sight for most teams, I would imagine, with the way Liverpool have played recently. But then also Scholes, does he get the credit? Maybe he should, with the amount of players that were so good in the Man United team when he played. Beckham's, Giggs, even like Schmeichel in goals, people like that, and the strikers, Cole, York, all them sort of players. Scholes played around, and he was a fantastic player, and which we'll talk about later. There were so many different players that told you who, in my opinion, were better players than Scholes, who rated him better than them. So, but that's something we can talk about later. So my order would be Lampard number 3.
Yeah.
Gerrard very close to Scholes, but Scholes as the overall package, as he liked to get stuck in. Sometimes, probably nowadays, he wouldn't last 2 minutes on a pitch, but he liked to get stuck in. He was a very bad tackler, and you could tell if the game weren't going his way, you knew he was going to get a yellow card, and that sort of gingerness in him. He had that aggression, and
can't say gingerness. That's gingerous.
Is it? Am I not allowed to say that? Or the colour of his hair?
Alex is going to kick off in a minute.
I'm trying to pull it nicely.
I've dyed it. I've dyed it.
I need to dye mine, but I won't be going ginger. But but no, I just think Scholes as an overall footballer just had a little bit more than Gerrard personally, in my opinion. But
that's fair enough.
I think very close. Gerrard, what he did for that Liverpool team, the amount of trophies they won, was more or less down. You'd say down to him, but it's very close. Do you know what I mean? Because when you look through the times they won obviously they won the Champions League and this, that, and the other. And obviously the FA Cup, I think, was it at Millennium Stadium as well? Gerrard just sort of won that game.
The West Ham final.
The one against West Ham, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, that strike as well, that goal.
Yeah.
I actually watched that in Germany with Pete Doherty from the Libertines.
2006.
Yeah. And that's my order. But I think Gerrard and Scholes was very close. But I just think
Scholes edges it.
Scholes edges it just because the overall package. But I think Gerrard and Scholes play very, very similar. But for me, it was Scholes. And also what ex-pros say about Scholes as well. Nothing against Gerrard, but no ex-players come out and have said what they have said about Scholes. So us footballers must not be wrong, Stu.
Yeah. Come on then, Stu. Come on then, Stu. I know that you're down to give us yours.
Who do you think's going to be number 1?
Number 3, Steven Gerrard. Number 2, Steven Gerrard. Number 1, Steven Gerrard.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Stu's a Liverpool fan, isn't he?
Yeah. I am a Liverpool fan, but I'm also very realistic, and I'm very honest about what I think. I mean, I'll just start off with my top 3. My top 3 is Lampard, Scholes, Gerrard. The reason being, my main argument for Steven Gerrard is that he was a big game player. He was the footballer that I think in his prime, if you'd have played him at left back, right back, centre back, up front, left wing, right wing, he wouldn't have looked out of place. You wouldn't have worried about it. You know, he had pretty much everything a midfielder needs to his game, up and down, an engine. He could score, he could head, he could take free kicks. He was a leader, he was the captain. He also captained his country. I just think that the lack of moving on to probably Chelsea or Madrid, with under Mourinho, I think probably has hindered his reputation after he's finished in the sense of his trophy count, which I think a lot of people go and bring up quite a lot. As far as Paul Scholes goes, I think a tremendous player. I think he's more celebrated now he stopped playing than he was praised when he was playing, which isn't a bad thing. As far as Lampard goes, I think you're probably talking about over the last 15 years, probably the best goal scoring midfielder in Europe for a lot of years. He'd weigh in with 20 goals a season every year, which is incredible. And like you said, Craig, his timing was just arriving at the edge of the box or in the box was just second to none.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think if I'm honest, I have to say Steven Gerrard, and it's not because I'm a Liverpool fan. That's how I really feel about it. And I've got no problem with Tony or another Man United fan saying Scholes. That's completely cool. It's a bit like the Messi and Ronaldo thing, I think, with Scholes and Gerrard, is that if someone says Scholes, you can't really argue. And if someone says Gerrard, you can't, a bit like it is with Messi and Ronaldo. So that's my sort of take on it. I'm just going to go through a quick few things.
The majority of that. That's Scholes winning then, isn't it?
Well, look how happy you are. You're 1-0 up already.
Yeah, listen, I'm happy. I've put my opinion across.
I think that you're totally right that people do focus on the rivalries, and there is a lot of sentiment there as a football fan. That's what's amazing about the game, isn't it? You'll know firsthand, Craig, having experienced it at the high level that we have. Messi and Ronaldo, people tend to acknowledge the rivalry rather than just enjoy the actual sheer talent and genius of them both. And I think that, when you are a fan of one of the players for the team that they play for, whether it be Gerrard, Lampard or Scholes within this argument, that you do have a sentiment towards. I mean, like I said, Scholes has given us some of the best times in my life watching United home and away. And the same for you. But as we said, nobody's ever got a concrete argument as to who is the actual best. And I'm sure that, this opinion and debate will be ongoing for years to come.
And it's good fun. It's good fun debating it.
Do you think, which we'll probably talk about later, if one of them would have done better or a couple of them would have done better in an England shirt, that would have maybe made a difference? Or because I try and judge the Messi and Ronaldo's debate as such, which shouldn't be really a debate because they're two fantastic world-class players that you be lucky to probably see the same sort of quality again in maybe our lifetime, I think personally. But there's players obviously on the way up, but I still don't think anyone. But for me, if I had to choose one out of them two, it'd be more Ronaldo, because he's done it more on an international level.
Yeah.
More
and travelled, Craig.
Yeah.
Listen, we'll save that for another podcast.
But that's my sort of thing. But with these three, it was just, which we'll probably speak about, it's gutted that we couldn't get them to play as well for England, or maybe during the times that we're playing in, them sort of formations to get these three players playing at their best wasn't around then. Do you know what I mean? So that's something which we may talk about in a bit. But I think if them three are around now, I think there's a chance that you could play all three of them with a defensive midfielder maybe. But back then it was it Ericsson 4-4-2. Scholes is playing left midfield. Yeah. Gerrard and Lampard didn't really work together as a two in midfield. So I just think the times, I think if they three were playing now with the defensive midfielders we have now, I think them three could work personally.
Here's a question for you. In fact, go on, Alex. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, you know, it's fine. You touched on like Gerrard could play. You could put him in a position. I remember Roy Keane saying something like that the standout players are people who you can kind of move around the pitch and be able to do a job, you know, and have the ability to step into defence and do an okay job. You know, Fernandinho's shown in it hasn't he, at City?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, where when they moved him to centre back, everyone was like, but he does a great. He's doing very, very well in that position. But I remember Roy Keane picked up on that, and I've always remembered that. He says a good player should be able to
a good
less play anywhere on the pitch.
Yeah, I think what he said as well when he said that, Alex, was that it winds him up when he hears players say, "Oh, you know, they have to stay in a position and they don't go up and down anymore." And he's like, "Well, that should be a give me. And a centre midfielder should be able to go up and down every game he plays." I think that was the kind of thing that he picked up on. I tell you what, just talking about Roy Keane, him and Micah Richards are a dream made in heaven.
Yeah, they are good. And to be fair, Keane and Lampard, Redknapp are quite interesting at the minute as well. When you hear about
they had a ding dong, didn't they, about Tottenham? I saw that.
And then he said about League of Their Own, didn't he, the other day? I can't remember how it went, but that went down like a lead balloon as well. Redknapp sort of laughed it off, but I think I'd like to.
Didn't he say go on another road trip or something?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. And he said about League of Their Own, but no, it's
a demographic of character, though, isn't it? You know, I think I know this is not the debate for today, but I think that within the world of football punditry, and yet again, Craig, your insight is far superior to ours because you've been taught the game from a different perspective than we have. You know, something that's drilled into you 24/7, more or less. And I think you can see when Redknapp's there is a bit of a pretty boy, isn't he? I mean, obviously he knows his stuff. He's played at the very highest level, but he's not competing with Roy Keane, is he? In debate or trophy or performance.
I think, but what Keane says about Tottenham being a soft touch, it's true. Tottenham for years have been a soft team. They've had attacking players. They've had good players on the eye. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty, Tottenham fail. Simple. And it doesn't matter what you can say this about Mourinho with them now. They're failing again. At the start of the year, when they started off attacking, looking really good, great. When it starts getting nitty-gritty, Tottenham fail. And that's simple. And Keane's right in what he says. That how many trophies in the last, I don't know, since I've been alive? I can't. Yeah. I think the only time maybe an FA Cup or something like that.
League Cup and FA Cup.
Yeah.
And I know
Tottenham have never won the league. They're a soft touch, and they have great players. They have great players on the eye, this, that, and the other, but they don't.
Craig
they don't win things.
The pigeons.
No, that's just. Like I said, I support Coventry, so when can I talk about teams? Like, you know what I mean? So,
I'll tell you what, Craig, very quickly. My first ever game when I went to watch Liverpool, I went to watch Liverpool versus Coventry in the FA Cup when you beat us 3-1 and Darren Huckabee scored 2 goals. Do you remember it?
Yes. I was season ticket holder then till I was 16. Yeah, when I was a Glory fan, if that was ever such a Coventry fan. Do you know what I mean? In the Premier League,
Yeah.
We ain't got our own ground.
Going off subject, but punditry. Did anyone see Peter Crouch last night?
No, I didn't see it.
So they were doing the stat of British players who'd scored 2 goals in a quarter-final of a Champions League, and they're all guessing and everything, and then they get to the final person, and they're like, "Anyone know?" And they're like, "No." And they're like, "It's you, Crouchy." I went, I were quite a good player, weren't I?
Nah, that's it.
Yeah, fair enough. Right, guys, I'm going to just ask you a few questions. I just want pretty much a 1-sentence answer, please, to the questions. So, number 1, if all 3 were in your football team and you had a penalty, who would you want out of Lampard, Gerrard, or Scholes taking it? Alex Taylor.
Don't come to me first. I'd go Lampard.
Okay, Tony.
I'd go Lampard. I know we adhered to his goal-scoring record earlier, and the penalties have got to be converted, but a lot of them were pens.
Yeah,
you still got to convert them. It's not as easy as it is to score a pen, but he did bang them in quite a lot. Yeah, I think his percentage is good. So I don't think Scholes. I think he only took 1 penalty and missed it, or something like that.
I don't know. I haven't looked at that. Craig, what would yours be?
As a Liverpool fan, Stu, did Gerrard miss a lot of penalties or not? And that's a serious question.
I'd say Gerrard missed about 2 out of every 10 penalties. That's probably, he did miss a few, but not
1 in 5.
Yeah.
We won't go into the slip either. But okay, I'll choose Lampard anyway. Okay, go on
Right,
then. That sort of changed my tune.
I would select Lampard as well as my penalty taker. Okay, next question. It's the 8th to 9th minute. Your team is 1-0 down. You get a free kick at the edge of the box, about 30 yards out. You give the ball to either Lampard, Gerrard, or Scholes. Who is it? Alex Taylor.
Scholes.
Tony.
Gerrard. Dead ball, Gerrard.
Craig.
Gerrard. If it was a volley, I'd say Scholes.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were in open play. Is it a free kick?
Yeah, it's a free kick.
Free kick, that's what I mean. Yeah, Gerrard.
Right. Yeah, if it were free play, it would be Scholesy. But yeah, I'd probably change my answer to Gerrard. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Right, the next one. Who do you think? I think Craig might have done his research. In the Premiership, who do you think has got the most assists?
Oh, I didn't get assists.
Well, I've actually got this up on my computer now. So
I'm
not
little
going to
geek.
cheat. I won't cheat.
Go on then, Alex. Who do you think's got the most assists?
Out of the three of them?
Yeah.
Or ever?
In the Premiership.
Ever?
Yeah, just in the Premiership.
Yeah, but ever?
Yeah.
Any player?
Ever.
Not out of the three.
No, out of the threes. Tony's saying, is it out of the three players
out of three.
ever in the Premier League?
Yes.
Not ever then, is it?
All right. Yeah, sorry then.
Yeah, out of them three, who's got the most assists?
Yeah. Go on then. Who's going first?
I'd go Gerrard.
Craig?
Yes, I'd say Gerrard, Scholes, then Lampard. So Gerrard, yes.
Alex?
I'll go Scholes, Lampard, Gerrard.
Right. The Premiership assists is as follows. Scholes third, Gerrard second, Lampard first.
Was it?
You wouldn't think that, would you?
No.
You wouldn't think that. So, but saying that, that's me trusting the internet. You never know what you're reading, So if I am wrong, you can quite easily point it out to me.
We'll let you know, Stu. I'll be looking at that one.
Right.
And also,
question.
hang on a minute. Because statistics are relative, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are nowadays. They are
How we kind of adhered to players adapting. I think that Scholes adapted, then he started dropping deeper. Gerrard did the same, went into that quarterback position.
Yeah.
Lampard never really did that. I know he kind of did it at City and New York, but we're talking a different level of play then, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So Lampard is going to have more touches in the opposition box, isn't he? And in that last third, which is the key third. So that stat is probably a little bit biased.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. What's that saying? There's stats and then there's lies or something along the lines.
Stats don't lie, yeah.
Yeah.
Craig, I had a question for you.
Go on.
Obviously, two of the players were a one-team club. Obviously, Lampard started at West Ham and then went to Chelsea.
Yeah.
Do you think if he was at Chelsea from the beginning, he may have got a better player?
He could have been a better player? At that time, you think the West Ham players who they produced, Rio Ferdinand, Joe Cole, players like that. Carrick as well, Carrick, Defoe. Even like you look at Rio's brother, yes, not as good as him, but produced obviously Anton Ferdinand. There was numerous players through West Ham at that stage. Would that make him a better player? I don't know. I think it gives you the basics, but players like of that quality have already got that. And you find that I played at not a bad level, but I wasn't a touch on them sort of players, and I had to work a lot at my game. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying they don't, but they just have a gift. Do you know what I mean? And they have to work on that gift. Yeah, get better, get fitter, stronger, practice, everything else. But you sort of have it. Do you know what I mean? And I think them sort of players, whatever club they're at, even if they're a lesser club, they're going to produce. And then once they get to the club they need to, that's when they start shining. You see players go through the levels, and why do they go through the levels? Because they're much better than everyone else, and that's it. And then once you get to your level, then you start shining. So, like you said.
But in the same vein, Craig, do you think people underestimate just how hard people like Gerrard, Scholes, Lampard actually work on the training pitch, the extra practice. I know there's a natural element, but people go on about Beckham a lot about his, after hours practice, getting the nets, 10 free kicks. He wouldn't score till he put 10 through the tyre, etc. I know that Lamps was similar.
Lampard's reputation was massive for that, Tony. I think
he used to do a lot of extra training, like half an hour, 40 minutes most days.
Because I think West Ham fans kind of at first had him in as Harry's nephew, didn't they?
I was going to say that. He was very underrated, wasn't he? Really?
But when you see him from West Ham, no disrespect, his sort of stats, as you call in, and his goals and this are not to the levels of Chelsea, was that? Do you know what I mean? But there was definitely something there that Chelsea at the time, when Abramovich took over, they brought Lampard, was it? I'm not 100% sure, but Chelsea then started buying the young players, didn't they? The foreign players. They started buying the English, like Glenn Johnson and people like that. That's when, obviously, Lampard, when you probably looked at that West Ham team, yes, he was good, but you wouldn't say he was probably better than Ferdinand or a Joe Cole or something like that. But
unless you're Harry Redknapp.
But he, like I said, out of what we've been talking about, he had the knack of scoring goals.
Yeah.
That's one thing as a midfielder, like for me, that gets you moves and that gets you noticed more than anything. Like Lampard, yes, his stats are unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's definitely like what you said about practice. Yeah. I used to practice a lot. It gets you to a certain level. I couldn't get to their levels, but practice makes. It doesn't make you perfect, but it does make you better. And I think people underestimate. They just see you play on a Saturday or on a Tuesday. If you don't play well, they just think, oh, you're on all this money, you should be playing better than what you are. But there's loads of different factors to that. But practice, I think, even with young kids now and just in general, if you've got that work ethic, you have a look at all the top players. Their work ethic's unbelievable. And yes, if you've got a little bit of ability and great work ethic, you can go far. They've got unbelievable talent and unbelievable work ethic. Put them two together. What happens?
Boom.
You get your footballers what they've created themselves, and fair play to them. Because hard work is anything.
Well, hard work is it hard work?
That's it.
Talent doesn't work hard. Something like that. I think it's the Sean Dyche one, that isn't it?
Yeah, but no, I think like I said, both of them work together.
I think Ollie Watkins is a prime example, isn't it? Really,
gone through the levels.
Yeah, what he's achieving now, and he's, Burnley were very close to sign him, and he went to Villa instead.
Well, Jamie Vardy as well. You can talk about
Vardy.
Vardy with all his supposedly going to the boozer, doing this, that, and the other. He's got something in. He's got some work ethic. Well, obviously, he's got unbelievable work ethic. But
have you read his book?
No, I haven't read his book. Is it good?
One of his stories is that they had to take him off.
You read it to us, Alex.
No, they had to take him off.
You're diverting my podcast.
Sorry, but they had to take Jamie Vardy off at half time because he had the tag on and he had to be home in at a certain time.
But that's sort of
story. He went through the levels, like you said.
Yeah.
Like I said, he had that talent, didn't he? And he could progress. And he was a goal scorer. So yourself, at any level, if you're a goal scorer, you're always going to get noticed, So
let's just to wrap up with Frank Lampard, and we'll move on to one of the others. Is obviously what I was going to say before when you were saying about West Ham. I remember that interview. I don't know if you've seen it with Harry Redknapp, where he sat with a very young Frank Lampard, and one of the reporters in the crowd sort of says, "Why have you let Scotty Cannon go?" And the other lad, and Harry Redknapp goes, "I wasn't going to do this, especially in front of him, but he's going to go right to the top, right to the very top." And he says that about Lampard when he's 18. So. It is crazy when people can see that in someone, even though, way before they reach that level. To summarise and finish off with Lampard, like I said, I think we're talking about arguably the greatest midfield goal scorer over the last 15, 20 years, or definitely in the top three. His stats are crazy for the amount of goals he's scored. And if anyone can think of a midfielder that's scored more, unless you're considering Messi and Ronaldo as midfielders, which I probably wouldn't.
I don't think they are, no.
Yeah.
I'd say attacking players I wouldn't even really class him as a winger, to be honest. Ronaldo started as a winger, didn't he? But now he's converted to as a striker. Messi, I think Messi can play anywhere, can't he? So I don't think you can give him as such a position. But I don't think you can't expect Lampard and Messi and Ronaldo to do the stuff like Scholes, Lampard and Gerrard did, to be honest, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Fantastic player. Let's move on to Steven Gerrard. So what would you say is your best memory of Gerrard? What do you think is the things that people remember him for? Will it be Istanbul in 2005 or the 2006 FA Cup final? What stands out in your minds?
I still remember the goal he scored at Anfield. Was it the last few minutes? And then the commentator goes, Gerrard, yeah, that was it. That's as soon as you mentioned Gerrard, then that's what I thought about. You know, probably was it to get you through the group stages? Was it?
It was to get us. It was to get us out the groups. Oh, was it? No, I think it was. Yes, it was, mate. Yeah, because Rivaldo scored in the first 10 minutes a free kick.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, and that was obviously he's achieved. That's probably one of the smallest things. And like what we spoke about earlier, the West Ham goal was similar, but I'd say the West Ham, the FA Cup final was better than that. But I just think at that stage with commentary and that, you never really heard a commentator shouting like that when someone scored. Do you know what I mean? So that was the sort of thing. I was it was
Andy Gray.
Can't remember how young. I was going to say young then, but I can't remember how old I was. But I just
take a bow. That's where it come from.
Take a bow. Yeah.
I just remember watching it and just thinking, wow, look at the commentator and what a goal. Do you know what I mean? And then just remember, I think it was Neil Mellor or someone like that running off with him. So that sort of shows no disrespect to Neil Mellor, obviously the player.
Well, he scored the goal before. It was Pongoli, then Neil Mellor, and then Gerrard scored that third one. Yeah. So that's your memory of Gerrard.
That's my, and probably the West Ham goal as well, because the West Ham goal in the FA Cup final, as we said previously, there's many memories, but I just remember that as like an iconic sort of thing that the commentator shouted Gerrard, and that was it.
What about you, Tony?
The West Ham memory, the West Ham goal, because I just think that was one of the games he really kind of grabbed him by the scruff of the neck. You know, that comparison to Robson in the 80s for United. Yeah, that was kind of, you know, what he'd do against Maradona in the return leg against Barca and stuff like that. And then I think you've got one of my worst afternoons at Old Trafford when you stuffed us. And I think he missed a penny that day as well.
Well, he scored a penalty, then missed one, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, Torres ripped Vidic a new one that day.
Yeah.
He did that a couple of times, but Gerrard going over to the camera
and kissed it, didn't he? Yeah.
I think we still won the league anyway that year. Yeah. But, also, obviously, they come back in Istanbul.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, people might have heard the stories, but everybody goes on about Benitez giving it a masterclass, and he was a bit lucky there because he'd already put somebody he'd put somebody in the shower in the interval, in the halftime. In the interval, we're not on stage, are we, darling? At half time, and then he had to put him back on because somebody had got a knock, had pulled up in half time.
Yeah.
But, and then just as a United fan looking at him, obviously there's them times, you know, you can look back on in bossing games against us when they spanked us at Old Trafford and whatnot. But then when he came on against
when he stamped
at Anfield, he stamped on Herrera within seconds and off he went.
Yeah,
I think he's admitted himself in his book that he'd kind of overhyped. He tried proving a point to Brendan Rodgers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then was it like his last game for Liverpool? They got done by Crystal Palace at home.
No, Stoke.
5-0, something like that. 5-1.
5-1 or 6-1 because he scored.
The Palace game was before though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Palace one was his last game, wasn't it?
No. His last game was against Stoke. We got beat 6-1. I think
Oh,
when he gave everybody the wave, they got beat by Palace. I think 2-0.
I'm glad you brought that up, Tony. So here's a question for you, Tony. In United's best ever Premiership team, out of any era of the Premiership, would Alex Ferguson have found a spot for Steven Gerrard in any of them teams?
Yeah, right next to Alex Ferguson on the bench.
I knew that one covered as well.
So you don't think he'd have found a way in?
He would definitely have become a part of that squad because I mean he's too good not to. I think was a couple of whispers of him, Fergie putting it out there, and he was never going to join United, was he?
No.
But I think, of course we'd have him, but would I have him in front of Roy Keane? No. And I think that was the best United midfield for me. Keane, Scholes, Giggs and Beckham. It's not a bad four, is it? And anybody in world football getting into that at that time. I mean, we were flying when we won the treble, 99. And obviously you had Butty there coming in and players like that who were surplus but could still come in and do a job. So
wasn't it Button Beckham that started the Champions League final in centre midfield?
Yeah, because Blomqvist played.
Left. It was Beckham and Butt, wasn't it, in centre midfield? Or
because
was Keane injured or suspended?
Keane were out, and Scholes were out.
Scholes, that was it.
Yeah. Were they?
And you kind of, I was lucky enough to be there that night because I'm a proper fan who used to go to the games.
What a game to go to!
What a game to go to! Yeah, I was going to say.
I remember kind of Keane and Scholes kind of coming over, lifting in the suits.
In the grey suits.
Massive cheer, but you could tell that it didn't mean as much to them.
Wasn't like John Terry putting on a kit, was it?
Oh, no. Who put a football kit on when they didn't have to, the pricks?
Tony, didn't Roy Keane say he found it really weird, actually? I think he was quoted saying he didn't really want to do it.
The thing is, Roy Keane, though, what he did against Juventus earlier on.
Yeah.
In that tournament, if it wasn't for him in that semi-final?
One night in Turin, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So yeah, we'll wrap up with Steven Gerrard there then with what you just said. Has everyone had an opinion? No, Alex Taylor, sorry.
No, it's all right. No. Do you know, I remember like scoring bangers, but I'm right into physical challenges, me. And I love
you look a man of pure aggression.
But like me and Stuart have played football together, and I do like to get stuck in. But I just remember some of his challenges as well. He was a physical player, and I like that. And we were together that night. The comeback in Turin, weren't we?
No, in Istanbul.
Yeah, Istanbul. So because we were together, and I remember at half time I was giving you some. I come in a Milan shirt, I think.
Yeah,
giving you some abuse.
I painted my face red with LFC on it, and then you walked in with an AC Milan top on. Yeah, I remember.
You know, yesterday, it's not come off, pal.
But no, I think we've all on Sky Sports, where they show the best of, and you watch them programs. And I know we're going to touch on Scholes in a minute. But he scored some amazing goals, did Gerrard?
Yeah.
He didn't score tap-ins, did he?
I think he was a mixed bag of goals. I think he had everything in, every kind of goal.
He could hit a ball.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think all three could hit a ball.
Oh, yeah. Well, what Tony was saying earlier, I know we're going to move on to Scholes, but I've heard more about people's appreciation of Paul Scholes after he's finished.
Yeah.
From players who you would have thought were better than him, if you know what I mean, and what they've achieved.
Yeah. Right. Okay. No, thank you for your points. We'll move on to Paul Scholes. I'll start with Paul Scholes and I'll hand it over to you. I think it's very rare. The best player I've ever seen live, ever, was Xavi, because he made the game look so simple and always had time on the ball. And that is exactly how I think of Paul Scholes. Every time he got the ball, the first touch was always a movement away with it. He was never really got possession taken off him when it came to him. And he just had that unique talent of always being in space. He never, ever was tight. No one could ever really pick Scholes up. He ghosted around. And I think that's probably the best sort of compliment I can pay towards him, in the sense that he always had time on the ball and then he did something with it, which, is probably the closest thing I've seen to Xavi, who's the best player I've seen. But I never saw Scholes live. So, but that's my opinion on Paul Scholes. I think he's a wonderful footballer. I wouldn't begrudge anyone who said he was better than Gerrard. It's down to opinions. Scholes just used to remind me of someone that just had so much time on the ball that he made the game look easy. And that's my 2 penn'orth.
Short and sweet, eh? Yeah. But no, for Scholes, for me, I think complete midfielder. Left foot, right foot, can play in numerous positions. Well, play as an attacking midfielder, can play as a holding midfielder, which he played at the end. His range of passing was ridiculous. I just jotted some stuff down as well. His goal against Aston Villa on the volley. I don't know if you remember that, hit the bar and went in. The volley against Bradford away. Beckham
I was going to say the Bradford goal. That was just something else.
That was a bit like Mendieta's goal for Valencia against Barcelona. I don't know if you've seen that one, but obviously
he was a hell of a player.
But Mendieta was obviously, he's went in the top corner. Scholes, I wouldn't say luckily, but he's went in the bottom corner. So, but no, complete midfielder. Probably the only thing I'd say probably maybe let him down. I know I'm only going to say is probably his tackling, his aggression in a way, because I think sometimes he got a little bit lucky on that side. But apart from that, complete midfielder, could do anything. And like we spoke about earlier, the amount of people who praised him after he finished, and even a little bit towards the end of his career.
Yeah,
I think one of the quotes I looked up earlier as well was when Zidane won Player of the Year or World Player of the Year, and the question was, how does it feel to be World Player of the Year or Best Player in the world? He said, why don't you ask Paul Scholes?
Yeah, I've heard that one.
Yeah.
So that's players like that. Pirlo is obviously, Ronaldinho, people like that have said what a complete player is. I think Xavi even said about Scholes. So that's...
I think they used. Sorry, Craig. I think they used to show videos of Scholes at Barcelona. I think. I don't know if that's definitely accurate, but I'm pretty sure Xavi and Iniesta said that they used to show videos at the academy of Paul. Have you heard anything about that, Tony? Have you maybe? Or
It's similar to you having pictures of me on your wall, isn't it?
Watching your videos and getting techniques.
No, I tell you. The great thing about my Paul Scholes memories is that I was very lucky that in the first season of the Premier League, 92-93, my brother was a ball boy at Old Trafford, the inaugural season of the Premier League.
I was going to say ball back then.
Not a million miles off, to be fair. But we would get a ticket for every single game then, whatever was played at Old Trafford. And obviously the class of 92, that was the year prior, and Scholes wasn't involved in that. But then the season 92-93, they made it to the FA Youth Cup again against Leeds. Players like Jamie Forrester, Noel Whelan, stuff like that. And he played up front with a lad called Richard Irving, and then there was like Robbie Savage, players like that who, didn't obviously had a good career. I think Richard Irving went on to Forest.
Ben Thornley in that one, Tony.
Thornley was in there with his massive ass, but he was decent.
Yeah.
He had a couple of bad injuries, but he was a standout winger. Keith Gillespie, another. Obviously, you've got your Beckhams and your Neville
and the Robbie Savages.
I think I saw Robbie Savage break his leg in Old Trafford on a Saturday morning. And you just heard the snap all around. It was horrible. But, when you saw...
What do you mean you think? You can't just walk past and go, I think Robbie Savage might have broke his leg.
I wasn't walking past. I wasn't playing, unfortunately. But this was at Old Trafford in a like a cup game or what have you on the Saturday morning. So watching Scholes then, you could see he had something, but he's always been small. So to kind of have that attribute and then and asthma as well. He's suffered from asthma. Which when you think about it, is a massive kind of hindrance to anybody. So to be a professional sportsman, a great advocate for that. But then to see him kind of grow and grow and grow. And I love listening to him now. He's like the geezer off Monty Python. He didn't say anything, but no, he doesn't shut up.
Yeah.
So he's, I was there for 2008 when he scored the winning goal in the semi-final against Barca when he just absolutely pinged one. I know what Craig's saying about his ill discipline at times. I think one was against City in the FA Cup at Wembley. That might have been a semi-final, that.
But that's a tiny little bit, though. That's like just
but
little nitpicking.
Fernandinho at City. There's got to be a dark art to it as well.
Yeah,
and you'll know as a pro to break up that play and take, you take a yellow, don't you, for it? That's what you do. And he took quite a few yellows, and he wasn't scared of putting that foot in.
No.
He wasn't.
Some of his tackles were naughty, weren't they? So,
you said you were a lazy tackler as well, weren't you? You were a bit lazy on it.
I think he just got like he was frustrated or mad, weren't he? And whoever was near him was getting it whatever way. It didn't matter.
I agree.
Tackle or just swiping the legs, you know.
I loved the fact that when he came back against Man City, when he retired and then decided to come back, it's a good story on the Robbie Fowler podcast.
Oh yeah,
and he says, you know, he didn't even have any boots, and he had to go to like JJB back in the day. He was like, how much? 120? I'm not paying 120 quid for a pair of boots. And I'm getting the 40 quid snide tempos or Zooms and what have you and putting them on. And you know what I mean? And it was just, I think anybody who makes something look so easy, I'm not saying that Lampard and Gerrard don't make it look easy because they've strolled through games, but you see an engine and that box-to-boxness that they had throughout their career, whereas Scholes, like you said, Stu, ghosted a little bit. Whenever he got the ball, like you said, a bit like a snooker player, he was 2, 3, 4 passes in front all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and you are complimented by good players, you know, and he never won PFA Player of the Year or the United Player of the Year, what have you. But he was in great company, and to sustain that level for nearly 2 decades and win so many medals, he can't have been a bad one, can he?
No, not all. I tell you what he used to do a lot, and it confused me how players can do it sometimes. When someone would bray a ball into him, it'd literally be with him within a second, right? But in that time, he'd go check his shoulder, like he's. I mean,
that's natural, Stu. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, some people have it, and also you when you're getting taught or when you go through the ranks, some players just have it. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can practice on the training field, looking over your shoulder, left, right, who's around you. These players have the pass before the ball even comes to them, know where it's going.
Gazza did it a lot, didn't he? Gazza did it a lot.
They know where it's going. They know where it's going before it's even come. As long as the ball's right to them and they can play it either first time or take a touch, they know where it's going. It's a bit like at snooker. You're 2 or 3 shots ahead, or in football, these players are 2 or 3 passes ahead. And that's what makes it. That's the difference of being a very good or like a good player to an elite player.
I was going to say that because I've heard that about like the football brain, that the 3 or 4 passes in front, and I've seen sometimes in the Premier League where they sign a player who probably has got much better ability, and the balls he's playing, the players he's playing with, are so far behind that, you know, it's a waste. It's when
you look now like Grealish and people like that. Will Grealish be better in a better team with better players? No disrespect to Aston Villa. Sometimes some players get better when they go and play with better players as well.
You didn't mind attacking Tottenham? Why?
No, but I'm a Coventry, so I don't like Aston Villa, but I like Jack Grealish as a footballer.
Yeah.
I mean, I think in a better team, in a Liverpool, even a Man United, someone like that.
Yeah,
I think Jack Grealish could be very good, yeah.
But do you not think that the similarity now that we're having this conversation, in 20 years' time, we might be asking who's the best in like Grealish, Foden, and
Foden's looking the man at the minute.
He's playing at the top level week in, week out, isn't he?
And he's not. It's only this season where he started to play a bit more regular, and he still ain't playing every week. So that's the frightening thing. Yeah. But you got to praise Pep for that. But then also Foden, for when he comes in, he's on top form every time. When they talk about, obviously, you need a couple of games to get your fitness and this, that, and the other. That boy comes in wherever. I think he missed about 4 or 5 games the other week. Then he comes in and then starts scoring goals. Do you know what I mean? So
the commentator said last night, justify his pick. You know, that's what he does every time.
I think he behind De Bruyne, he's got to be second name on the team sheet now.
Yeah, I think the thing with Foden is what's special about him is he's playing in a team full of superstars, and to knock them out of the team at that age says everything you need to know, really. And they're not, obviously, they could go out and buy whoever they wanted, you know, but they're not. Right, guys, just to emphasise before we bring this to a close, just to recap, who you think the best is at Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes, and as short as you can, why? So I'll go first. For me, the best out of 3 is Steven Gerrard. My reason is he had the all-round game. He could attack, defend, score. He was the leader. He dragged Liverpool through some dark times. He won some big trophies. obviously minus the Premiership, but he won some big trophies off the back of some mammoth performances. He had over 100 caps for England. And literally, if you went into a battle, you'd want him on your team. So for me, I don't have any problem whatsoever in saying the best out of those three is Steven Gerrard. Alex Taylor.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty similar with what you said about him, but, I think all three of them, they've kind of give me them moments. And I think we've all had it when you see something and you want to ring your mate and say, have you seen it? I remember sharing stuff with my dad, and I remember when Bergkamp scored that goal in the World Cup against Argentina, right? And it was like life-changing, like how can a person do that? And I think all three players have done things that I've seen where I've gone,
who's the best?
Wow. Well, I've said Gerrard, but when we've talked about it,
you can't change your mind now.
No, I love Scholesy as well, and I love a bit of Frank Lampard. Do you know what I like about Paul Scholes? Sorry, because you didn't ask me, Stuart, about Paul Scholes.
Oh, sorry. Well,
it's all right.
Sorry, mate. It's hard managing three opinionated alpha males.
Yeah, don't worry about it. But as we said, we picked up on stuff behind the scenes. I heard something that, like, he went home after training and like sat in his room and chilled out, and he didn't like muck about, and he was just football mad, and I loved that. I loved that kind of like he would just, that's what he wanted to do, But
yeah,
I did say Gerrard at the beginning, but I kind of like all three, me. So
yeah, who's the best, Alex?
Gerrard.
Okay, right. Okay, fair enough. Tony.
Stuart has paid me, boys.
Tony.
Yeah, I think it's going to be no surprise. I mean, any one of the three could take that mantle. But as we allude to, kind of the sentiment, the actual talent, the actual trophy haul, and the sustainability at the very top level, I'm going to go for the one and only Paul Scholes. But I tell you, and obviously Craig's going to give his answer, but I want to ask, as a pro footballer, which one would he most like to play with?
Great question.
Oh, difficult.
Answer the question, Craig.
I'll answer the first. Okay. For me, Scholes, complete midfielder. As we said, left foot, right foot, can score any type of goal. Also plays an attacking midfielder, plays a defensive midfielder, had that aggression, had that nasty side. I just think as a midfielder, and I played midfield myself, that's the sort of midfielder you want to be. That people enjoy watching you, but then when they play against you, they know they're in for a tough game. So Scholes for me. But like we said, all three of them.
In the same breath as well, does that mean who would you least like to play against?
Probably Scholes, because of the aggression side. I know Gerrard was very aggressive, but I just think Scholes, as we've talked about at times, was a bit
nasty,
a bit nasty, and you knew as soon as the ball's on, you have a touch, he's on you. Do you know what I mean? Not saying the others don't do that, but I just think some of the tackles I used to see off Scholes, I used to watch with my dad, and I used to be like, oh, I wouldn't like to be on the end of that. But I think I'd have to say probably Scholes again, but it's very close between him and Gerrard for me personally. But I might be better because the way I played, I might have suited Lampard, because I was a defensive midfielder probably myself. So Lampard probably would have been suited to play with me. So we turned it around. But
they only signed Claude McAleary because they couldn't get you, apparently, Craig.
Yeah. Don't tell anyone that. That would have been about my 100th club anyway, so it would have been all right.
Yeah. I think
it's different. Scholes for me though, just complete midfielder.
Fantastic. So thank you everyone for joining us on the Lancashire Lad podcast. Just to obviously emphasise to the neutral fans that are probably thinking, well, there's a Liverpool fan on here, there's a Man United fan on here, there's no Chelsea fan. We were due to have a Chelsea guest on this evening, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. And now I do understand it may be a little bit frustrating if you are a Chelsea fan and you really want to put Lampard forward, which if you do it in the right way, I don't mind you commenting below why you think Frank Lampard should deserve top spot. This is a brand new concept, the Lancashire Lad podcast. I'll be doing a sports show, probably more aimed at football, every week. The lads you've met tonight will hopefully bring back for future episodes. And all I want you to do is please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and enjoy the content. And like I said, you can write as much feedback as you like. Just do it in the correct way. Lads, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Stu. Thanks, boys.
It's a pleasure. And hopefully
enjoy your game, Craig.
Yes, I know. Just looking at the stats then. It's 0-0 at the minute, but we're massively on top, though. But
Craig Stanley is a Coventry fan. So...
PUSB.
He's done this podcast while Coventry were playing, which we are eternally grateful for. And we've timed it perfectly where Mr. Lewis can now depart and watch his beloved Man United as they take on... Who you got tonight again?
ITV, Granada.
Granada, yeah. Our lass's dad lives in Granada, actually. It's funny, that. To me, anyway. Listen, take care, lads. Thank you so much. I will see you again.
Coronation Street.
Yeah. Hey.